Hello, this is Max Drake. I just want to talk about the Revit Pure pamphlet that they had brought out a couple of years ago on the steps to create an effective plans note. Now, I've used this quite a lot and I actually find it very helpful, but I've colorized it so that I've got different colors of notes through there so that you can pick up, give it to different people or have it for different items that you're doing. Like for security, I'll have some for cameras, I'll actually have some for PIR detectors, and I'll have some for general doors and security on those sorts of things. So you can see which components relate to things. So on this one here, to do this, so I had those and I suddenly thought, can I actually automate this? So if I just go BN through here, it pops up with a pop-up box. I choose the one that I have actually got. This is already inside here. I'm going to choose a yellow one and I'm going to bring it across. And I'm just going to put it on the sheet through there. Then I'm going to click it again. And it's gone up. It's added a leader. It's gone down and turned off text visibility. And then it's landed in the note so that I can give it a note ID. Now I'm actually only just going to give this an ID of the view type, which is Y. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up here. And then I'm going to copy it a couple of times, and this is generally how I actually note anyway. And so I'll point it at a couple of items that I've got, then I'll go off and write some notes about those particular items. So on this one here, I just put 1, 2, and 3. God, brilliant. So they've all got the Y, so they can all be filtered via that. Now the next thing that I can actually do is I can actually select that and type SN. So this was a script that I'd actually got which allows you to write into a schedule, and this one here we're going to just use this cabinetry. I can just go enter into there and I'll just drop it into that particular notification. I can now do that again, so SN. So I'm actually selecting the bubble, not the schedule, and that actually allows me to go and put that information in that way. But I also wanted to be able to do it manually. The first time I did it, I chained it all together so that it was all in one thing. But I suddenly thought, no, I didn't want that to happen. So in here, I can actually just go handrail is stainless steel, and there's a note that I can actually just do manually if I want. So I've been able to throw those ones in there, and then I can come across to my schedule. So I can select a copy of the schedule that I've got, and I've just made a copy of the schedule. Just going to right hand click and go edit schedule. Jumps into the schedule through there. I'm going to come into the filter and I'm going to filter by view type, and I'm going to have it equals to Y and go OK. So the view type is in there and it's a hidden field, and I've also got the show text, and that's a hidden field, although in some ways you cannot not have it there. The other thing that I actually do is I come up to the note block here and I actually just make it whatever color my notes are so that that stands out, and just also to highlight with that as well, as I just do the zebra stripes with a lighter color of the same item that the notes are in, so that when I come through, clearly indicates which ones they come through on. So that was something that it take me a few days to get this iteration done, because there's a few little weird things happening on here. So the next thing is that I can do those notes, I can update those notes. One of the things which you can do on here is that I can actually just isolate the category with all of those notes through there, select them all, is that they're a certain note type, and I can actually make the text visibility be part of a global parameter, which is another handy thing to do here, because when we actually come to do some editing or something like that, and this is one thing which I do find with schedules, although you've got the schedules on the drawing, you're jumping back to actually try and annotate with them, whereas with this you can just go into manage and go into your global parameters and turn that parameter on. Then all of your notes you can actually read your notes coming through there, so you can actually modify the ones that you want, and you can see what they actually point to. So I quite like this if you're doing a simple little edit or something like that, that the notes do. Now you're getting stuff where it's sitting on top of each other like that, so you'd actually just hide the ones that are on over the top and then call them back later. So whichever ones they are, there's a bit of crossover there. So I do find that as a useful tool. You've got to do the global, a useful tool, sorry. The global parameters you've got to do select once they're actually in the drawing. And this is another issue. But I do like how clean it is. It's that, you know, you're basically pointing out. So you give it to a lot of stakeholders. And like we can actually have the client who actually wants to do the chairs and they want to do the chairs. Somebody else wants to do certain parts of the furniture. You want to get maybe the main contractor up to say, you know, are all of these materials available at this particular point in time, or do we have to look at substitutions early on in the design because it might be quicker overall just from the point of view of the deadlines that we've got to reach. So we can do certain things. So another thing that I can actually do on here is on this one here, we asked the client, okay, what sort of chair do you want? And there's 8 dining room chairs, and then they've come back with an answer. So we can actually add that answer by just going into BN through there. We can go in and we can get a combined note through there because, oh, sorry, and what happened there? That didn't trigger. BN. My camera does chew up a bit of my memory on my thing, so I might just have to rerun that again and just go BN. And there it comes up there. So we come up, it comes up, and I'm in the blue. So on this one here, they came back and they said what sort of chair they wanted. They then came back and said with an extra change in their mind. Now they come back with an extra item that they want to say. So, oh, I chose blue instead of the other one. That was a mistake. But let's just say it has something to do with that. I've now got an arrow onto that, and I can now point. Let's just assume that that was a turquoise, a cyan one through there, and I've come through to the fourth symbol. And what I can actually do on that one is that I can actually say 1A, 1B, 1C. And what I can also do with that is that I can actually just put that onto the view, which is on the cyan one, which is a bit of a cheat. But and we can actually just say pink upholstery. Because that'd be and it didn't actually switch that off. And that'll then appear in the schedule. So to a certain extent, I'm getting a little bit of history coming through based on the letters and also the symbols. So although I've not got the shape coming through on the schedule, I could actually have another column which would do schedules, but I'm actually using ABC. But visually I can actually see that certain things are actually having quite a major bit of activity, whereas other ones don't have here. And then when they've made a decision on this one here, I can actually just go BN onto that one there, choose the combined notes, coming down here, and it's assigned. So it's the second one that I'm actually going through with the iterations through there. So I've got that. I select it again, and it's put the arrow through there, and it's got me ready in there, so I can actually just put 2A, and the view type is C, and what he's actually said is oak stools with low back, powder coated legs, model for long wherever. So we can now got all of that. We can drag that across to those particular items. Now that those items are actually selected, we can go into there, we can click into here and just type OH, select an item, and it'll reset them back to thing, because we don't really, not important now because we've highlighted them to the client. So the only outstanding item are these ones here that I forgot to put the note in. So that's now appeared inside the schedule. So we can go back to our schedule, and we've got a little bit of a history of what's going on through there, and other people in other particular areas can start noting that certain things have happened as well. So there's a couple of things I just want to draw your attention to with here. I suddenly thought I'd like to see if I could actually take this to a further level with that level of iteration. But while doing this, there's a couple of things that ended up being a bit funny. Now, I'm just going to delete that out of here. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to go FF. And this is one of the things with this note. So I'm bringing in a different note through here now. And this one here has just brought the note in. And now I'm just going to go BN. And I'm going to choose a bubble note one. Now this one only has 5 settings through here. So I'm going to select the orange one. And I'm going to come down here and click on a location for it. And then I'm going to click on the bubble. And, didn't do it. Seems to have got sulky on me. Anyway, if we come through here and we add the leader on here, there's no arrowhead on it. So you've got to come into here and go and add your arrowhead here. But that only works for that type. So if I actually come in here and go BN again and select a different type, a blue one we'll say, and we go and drop the blue one in there. I seem to have been out of sequence or something here, doesn't matter. And if I put a leader onto here, you'll see that that one also doesn't have an arrowhead. So every time you bring this particular family in, you've got to go and set it up with arrowheads. And I thought, well, that's insane, especially for this particular one, because I've got 5 colors and I've got 4 variations. So I've got 20 elements to do. So I thought, well, that's a bit mad. That's a bit nutty completely. Now I need to delete these 2 at this point in time. So what I ended up doing was we'll go into a different drawing through there. I just got to check to know it's still in there. So I just delete that through there and delete it here. Delete that there. So what I suddenly thought, well, that's a nuisance. So, you know, what you'd actually have to do is set it up into one drawing and then bring it into another one. But inside the insert, there's load as a group. So what I ended up doing was I manually did them all so that you can actually just bring them in as a group. And it's loading them in as a group now. And you'll see that suddenly all of my all of my combined notes are actually in here now. So that on this one here, I can actually just go BN, come in, select the combined one, which is what I'm looking for, grab any one that I've got, drop it into there, and when I click on it again, it'll come through and it's got the arrow. Because if I just come down and show you the group detail family, it's got all of those built in. So that means you can transfer by project. And that's one of the things. If you're setting it up on the first project, that's painful. After that, you can actually just most probably transfer data between different files that you have. Another little anomaly, when I was actually doing this, the process that I was doing to drop one of these in, when you actually go to drop it in, like I do it again here, and you just go BN and you're just going to bring in a new note. So I'm going to bring in a combined note through there and I'm going to drop it in. Now initially I was saying, put the cursor right where the circle's going to be or where the object is, and it'll get the coordinates from inside there so that the next time, I'm just going to break out of this particular one, so that the next time you come and click on it, you found the coordinates of where that point is. So when you click on it, but I'm clicking on that like mad and nothing happens, and it's somehow activated something else. But if you come near the edge, and you can't really see it on this one here, you can select it. So let's just go into something like a yellow one through here. Now when I come to, you can see it's highlighted, but if I come, there are points there. I'm actually inside that particular object, and if I click, it just pushes me into the view. So it actually doesn't even recognize that element or that family. It's only when I drag it across that you see it's highlighted that I can click it. So this was a nuisance. This is where I suddenly thought, you know, the computer's just chewed up all of my memory and it's just gone absolutely mad. But in fact, it's a point of the Revit families there's active points on it and then there's non-active points on it. So if you've got the coordinates, I then tried doing a thing where I suddenly thought, well, I'd go up so many pixels so that I'm near the edge and that'll trigger it. But if you zoom out and you go up so many pixels, you completely miss it completely. So the method that I've got to do it is you've got to you drop it in and then you've got to come back and reselect it again, and then it'll activate all of those things. But when you drop it in, when you're doing the BN and you drop something in, and this is something that I'm still getting used to at this point in time, and I'm just going to use this one here as a demonstration, that I come through and I do that. When I come back onto it, I've got to make sure that I'm activating a part of it. Sorry, it's gone into another process through this. Something's gone a little bit. BN. We've gone into combine view. We're coming down. We're selecting one that we want, a square. We click on it. When I come away, when I come back, you see it's got to highlight it, and then you select it. Then it will do all of those actions. If you come back and you select it, and it's not active, it won't do the rest of the triggering thing. So it just seems to be something about the families that certain points it's selectable and other points it's not selectable. So it was just an oddity that I found, and that was my method of actually overcoming that particular issue. But since I use these quite a lot, especially on an early part of the project, because they're great explainers, and that you can just drag a whole lot of these around and you can be very verbose with your notes, that it's a handy tool to be able to use. Now,